Out for my morning walk, and I thought I'd take you along with me for a short discussion on HVAC and in particular portable air cleaners. There's been a lot of conversation lately, of course, around ventilation and filtration in our indoor spaces like classrooms and offices and restaurants, dentist's office, those sort of things. Portable air filtration is one of the solutions to help mitigate some of the risk of transmission in these close quarters. Now, COVID-19 has shown, this all came about because it was established that COVID-19 can exist in aerosol form, and that means it's between 0.1, or particulates would be between 0.1 and 1 micron. So that means it can be lingering in indoor spaces for quite some time. It can move through airflow, so it can get transmitted through ventilation systems. It can usually, particles of that size will, capture onto a larger dust particle or whatnot and move through the air like that as well. So that's kind of what brought this all about. And of course, students are going back to class, people are going back to their offices, restaurants, and that sort of thing. So we need to find ways to help mitigate some of that risk. And portable air cleaners with HEPA filtration is one of the solutions to help mitigate that risk. It's not a complete solution, as these are additive solutions. There are various things that you need to be doing in these spaces, both related to HVAC and related to social distancing and wearing masks and such. But all these additive solutions together will give you the maximum risk mitigation. So I just want to put a couple points out for people who might be looking at portable filtration solutions, because there's obviously a lot of different equipment on the market. And in my life, I've worked with equipment manufacturers for 15 years now. So I've become quite good at assessing different pieces of equipment and understanding where they fit into applications and how good of a piece of equipment they actually are. So the first thing I'm going to say is make sure that the HEPA filter in your portable air cleaner is actually a HEPA grade filter. There's a testing standard developed by the Institute of Environmental Sciences and Technology, which creates the way you're supposed to test a HEPA filter media and the filter leakage. You could have a HEPA filter or a filter with HEPA media in it that maybe has leakage around the seals between the media and the housing that degrade the efficiency of that HEPA filter, so much so that it doesn't meet that HEPA standard anymore. So manufacturers of these portable air cleaners should identify on their equipment that they've been tested to that standard, and they should even identify some of those performance numbers. If they're not identifying on that, anything like that on there, and if they're saying something like HEPA grade filtration, that's going to be concerning to me. If I want actual HEPA filtration in this air cleaner, I'm going to be a little concerned about that wording, HEPA grade, or some sort of marketing term like that. So look out for that, number one. The second thing I would say to someone who is looking at portable air filtration is really understand the application or the zone that you're putting this portable air cleaner in. And this is a big thing, because different zones have different requirements for air changes per hour. Air changes per hour basically is the volume, how many times per hour the complete volume of air in a given zone is exchanged either with outdoor air, or in the case of portable air cleaners, how many times that air makes its way through that portable air cleaner filter, the filter in the air cleaner. And just to give an example, in infectious disease areas where they're, like a lab or something, they typically have at least or around 12 air changes per hour going through a portable air cleaner, if they're using a portable air cleaner in that situation. So I think, with respect to classrooms and schools, Classrooms are generally anywhere between 4 and 12. I think I've been reading some recommendations around 6. And that doesn't have to be right through the air cleaner itself. If you have ways of introducing outdoor air, that seems to be the, one of the prime recommendations, is to exchange that air with fresh outdoor air. If that's not possible, then this is where portable air cleaners, HEPA Grade, would come into play. Now, you can apply HEPA filtration in existing centralized and decentralized equipment. The challenge becomes due to the efficiency of that filter. It's a high efficient filter, so when you're trying to put air through a filter, that air will experience restriction from the filter that's in front of it. As it goes through the filter, the pressure, which is what helps force the air through a duct system, sees a restriction, and that causes it to basically slow down. So if you are dramatically changing the filter media in an existing piece of equipment that has a dramatically different pressure drop rating to it, that could cause challenges to the overall HVAC system. Something like that definitely needs to be assessed either by a consulting engineer or a contractor, depending on the situation. If there is a positive in all this, is that we're finally talking about our HVAC systems in our buildings. Normally, HVAC is something that gets ignored or gets put off to the end, or let somebody else deal with it, or whatever HVAC system you put in that building, put it in this building. It generally, because it's not sexy and it doesn't sell, floor area, and it doesn't attract people to buy a piece of property, a house or a building or a unit in a building, whatnot, we don't generally tend to talk about it. But we have a looming greater challenge around the corner called climate change, and greenhouse gas emissions from our buildings represent a fairly sizable chunk of our annual overall emissions in Canada. And it also represents a huge opportunity for us to make some changes and for the better, to reduce emissions, improve comfort, improve efficiency. So if there is a silver lining in this at all, it is that I think the general public, will get a better education on HVAC systems and how they can help solve problems.